All right, my wonderful stretchaholics, welcome to the video on stretching for pregnancy, advanced for hip achiness and soreness. Now, this is not where you begin if you haven't done stretch regularly, if you're not in, say, for example, a yoga practice regularly, a stretch practice regularly, something that where your body is used to you moving through some deep releases. If you haven't, or that's not where you're at, please refer back to the beginners, and that will take you through very similar parts of the body, stretching through the hips, very similar stretches targeting the same areas, but will give you that initial modified version. Please begin there. If you are ready to get some deep stretching through your hips through this pregnancy, then let's begin. Remembering, I'm not going to do a warm up for you guys because if you're here and you're someone who does deep stretching or yoga, things like that, you know you need to be warm first. If you do this cold, you will very likely strain or hurt yourself. Now, in pregnancy, specifically, we want to be really making sure we're warm, and we also want to be listening to our bodies. We always want to be listening to our bodies, but we want to be doubling down on listening to our bodies, because we do have, like I said in the beginners video, we do have the relaxin hormone coursing through our bodies, and it is going to mean that we have a lot more pliability and flexibility to ligament tissue, muscle tissue, and all other connective tissues. And so it can mean that injuries can occur because we can overstretch. So please be careful, especially because we have more pressure on the pubic joint at the front with our babies growing on top of the joint themselves. And that is really important to protect. And then in the back of our pelvic girdle, we have our sacroiliac joints through here. If we overstretch any of those, you can end up with pelvic girdle pain. Now, if you're struggling with pelvic girdle pain already, I would not be recommending this routine for you right now. I would be recommending that you speak with a chiropractor or a pregnancy-based physio, or potentially even an osteopath that has pregnancy experience, to be working through helping you with the causes of that pelvic girdle pain first before you put these joints under additional tension. This video is for you if you're practiced in stretch, deep stretch, yoga, that type of thing, and if you're experiencing that lateral or hip aching on both sides with sleep and day-to-day movements, but not having any pubic pain and not having any low back sacroiliac joint pain. If you're fitting that category nicely, then let us begin. So the way that I want you to start is by doing a nice deep squat, really opening up through the front of the groin on both sides, the front of the hips. So the way you're going to do that, I'll be out of shot for a second, is taking your feet into a really nice wide sumo squat position, and you're going to be taking your knees out to the sides, so turning your feet out, knees over your feet. Now I'm going to come right down to elbows. You can be here if you like, but if you're doing advanced, this should feel comfortable to you. We're not trying to drop our bums all the way down, but we're just trying to hold a nice parallel position through our thighs to the floor. And at the back, if we were to look from the side, we're going to be having a nice flat back there. We're not trying to be here and forward. We certainly shouldn't have any rounding in our back. That should all be nice and flat, and our bums out to the back, turning the pelvis up as opposed to having the pelvis tucked. The pelvis needs to be up. In that nice wide squat position, you're pushing the knees out with the elbows, and that should give you a nice stretch across the groin on both sides, or the front of the hips essentially. Now, it is my habit, I'm going to get puffed as I speak, it is my habit to just gently rock side to side. You may not feel that you want to do that, your body might tell you that's not right for you, that's fine, but I do enjoy just moving gently from side to side, especially because I usually start or begin with this straight after my dynamic warm-up, so this is sort of part of that. Get the quads working, get the glutes on board, wake everybody up. So you would hold this for 30 seconds, have a break, and then go again. And then we're going to move into the next stretch. So from here, we're going to move over to one side. That foot is going to come down and up. So down, straight knee, toes to the ceiling. You have a few options here. From the wide squat, I like to hit this position where my heel is off the ground. You're going to feel a nice deep stretch into the adductor. Straight back again. We're not trying to round. You'll lose your stretch if you do. So nice and tall, nice straight spine. That will give you more isolation in that adductor. Foot nice and loose. You're not trying to hold it up through here. That will give you more of a nerve stretch. Just nice and loose there. That's your first option. In fact, let's add them together. You're going to begin here. Now, I would hold this for up to a minute, 2 minutes, depending on how you're going. Then you're going to turn that foot flat into the front, like a sort of Catwoman pose, and come down onto the heel here and rest there. That will take you more into the groin. And then, I'm not going to hold this for ages. I want you to be able to see the routine and then you can pull it through yourself. You just press pause or get used to it and do it yourself. You're going to take, I like to use my arms to help me across. You're going to take your body into that initial stretch on the other side. So foot nice and relaxed, but to the ceiling, heel off the ground, legs apart, stretching through that adductor. Nice tall back. And just holding that position. Gotta catch my breath. And then turning your foot down, that long foot down to the floor, facing ahead of you, coming down onto the heel here and holding that stretch there, leaning forward a little more. You'll get that in the groin as opposed to the adductor. You would hold that for up to a minute to 2 minutes as well. Okay. And we're going to move into the hip flexor stretch. So you'll be coming out of this carefully, especially if you've been there for a minute to 2 minutes. Please give yourself some grace. These stretches will be deep and potentially sore. Coming onto your mat, let's begin in a tabletop position. You're going to take one leg forward. I'm going to choose my right if you want to follow along with sides. And you're going to just hold a nice straight spine as you release that hip toward the floor. This is the hip flexor side that you're stretching as you open through the front of the hip. Now I have the front, my hands on the inside of that front knee. You can do the stretch up through here. If you like, you can do one arm either side. I'm personally finding that difficult because my belly's only human. So coming on the inside of the leg allows you lots of space for baby. I like to hold in a fist position just to protect my wrists and hands, but it doesn't matter. You can be flat hand or whatever you need to there. This is a really important one to be doing some deep breathing on. So breath in, and then as you breathe out, really making sure you're making that conscious effort of letting go and not holding that tension because it hurts through the body. Breathing out and relaxing there. Nice and straight through the spine. Again, we don't want to be curled like this. That takes the stretch out of the hip flexor. We want to be extended. And then you would release carefully, coming back really gently, taking that leg beside you and bringing the other one forward and moving into the hip flexor stretch again on your other side. I want to caution you again that if you have been experiencing pubis pain, so at the joint at the front of the pelvis, please be making sure you're doing the beginner's version. This is creating a lot of torsion in your pelvis with one leg forward and one back like this. And if your pubis is already sore and unhappy, you will make it worse. Please be careful. You would relax there, letting go, focusing on your breath for 1 to 2 minutes. And then from here, we're going to come back to that original side, taking the leg forward into a pigeon pose position. Myself a bit further forward on the mat, and then relaxing there. Now, what you'll notice is a nice deep stretch on the bent leg glute, the one that's tucked right under. So for me, that's my back leg. If you want a deeper stretch, you would take this foot more perpendicular. I'm no good there, so I can't do that. But you would then move over that stretch. But for me, I need to have it a bit further tucked under me. And the top half of you, again, just nice and relaxed, keeping your jaw relaxed, no tension in your forehead or your shoulders, letting the tongue relax on the floor of the mouth. And from here, staying upright is fine. You can come down to elbows, as long as you can keep a straight back. Sometimes having a bolster or blocks under your elbows, if that's the position you can hit. You can come all the way down. It does get harder as pregnancy goes on, of course, with Bubby growing. But you should definitely be feeling the stretch at the back of that hip. And the more you relax, you may feel it again, the leg that's back through that hip flexor. Changing sides. Again, do this slowly and gently. We're moving through the transitions really fast in this video, and you would really take your time carefully coming out of each stretch, because you'll have hit ligament tissue and they can be tender to move out of. So give yourself that grace and that TLC as you change positions. So feeling into this side, and when you're ready, moving down to whatever position you want to hold there. As long as you can relax. If you're finding you're holding tension or you're holding your breath, it means that that position is too much for you. And then you would back off to the stage before, where you can fully relax into the stretch. It's going to be much more effective than if you're fighting it. Okay. Gently coming out of that stretch. And to finish, we're going to, you need to be warm, this is why this one's at the end. We're going to move into a hip capsule stretch. There are alternative ways to do this. You can see the beginner's video for another version. Okay. You can see the beginner's video for another version, but with this one I'm going to show you the advanced position. What you're going to be doing is creating a parallel position with your upper leg bones, your thigh bones. So we don't want to be having both knees out. We're not trying to move into a nice butterfly or a yoga position like a lotus. We're trying to make sure that our thigh bones are facing forward, that they're running forward. So you move one in, bring that thigh bone forward. You shouldn't see your knee sticking out. You should just be having this nice flush thigh. And then the other one is going to come up on top and across, making sure you're beyond your ankle. So you're not having your foot here. We don't want any flex in that ankle. You need to bring it across so that this thigh is also straight forward. Now, if that is already, it's going to hurt in the top leg at the hip capsule, so at the side of the booty, then lean back to put your leg on. So lean back, finding the right position for that one, bring that across, and then level that across. As you get more proficient in this stretch or more flexible, then working your way up where you're leaning backward less, until you can be upright and just resting here. Now, what you will find is, I'm going to show you from the side, if you are unable to hold that position with a straight back, and you're finding you're curling, whether it's through the upper back or through the lower back, then this is not okay. You need to be leaning back to make sure the stretch is efficient. So that is perfectly reasonable. You're still going to get that in the hip capsules because your back is straight, which is what we need. If you're comfortable, you can move to that upright seated position, holding that nice straight spine and then relaxing and letting go and holding that for 1 minute to 2 minutes. And then the same goes, but the other side. So let's practice that position again. To the front leg, or first leg I should say, making sure that that thigh is flush, creating a right angle, and bringing the other one up and over and here. So you've got your thigh bones running forward, not out, thigh bones running forward, ankle over past the knee, back is nice and straight and tall, and then finding that beautiful straight position through the neck and head. Breath in, let it go. Make sure you're relaxing through the hips and the glutes. A lot of us will hold tension there because it's sore, not realizing that we're fighting the stretch. So let your glutes relax, let the outsides of your hips relax, and the lower back relax. Just want to use your postural muscles, that's all. You hold that and do some nice breathing through there. Your hands can be anywhere. I like to have them here. I don't know, I think that's just habit, but just nice, beautiful, deep breaths and holding that for 1 to 2 minutes. And again, coming out of this stretch after that amount of time, nice, gentle, gracious, tender love and care type movements to move out of this. And then if you like, once you've finished that series, my preference for myself would be to move into a relaxed child's pose and just really stretch through the body and rest there for a minute or two to conclude. So if you were to do that at the end of each day, holding each for 1 to 2 minutes, taking your time, not rushing, and breathing into each stretch and truly letting go in each stretch, you're going to find that that night you're going to sleep, hopefully, a lot better. I certainly do. And as you accumulate a bit of flexibility through the pelvis again, you're going to find that you start to have much less pain, of course, but also just much better sleep. You'll find you're not waking as often. And if you are waking, depending on if you're moving into the later stages of third try, say, then you can use some of these stretches through the night to get you back into that position or place of comfort, and then have a second round of rest. Good luck. I know it's a hard, trying thing, this lateral hip pain. I hear about it all the time in clinic. We really try and work through it, but a lot of it does come down to what you're doing at home every day. I find that when I go through this advanced schedule and I'm holding each for 1 to 2 minutes and really letting go and relaxing, I sleep really well that night, but I need to do it again the following evening. So it does require some consistency, and it does require some determination to look after yourself in this way. But hopefully that really helps you, and with caution, enjoy.